Second-driven church, the lay-driven church. Chapter 9, what kind of path does it take? Moses, our prototype for letting lay people do it. Writing this chapter has caused me to feel like Moses at the burning bush. See Exodus 32:4. Who am I that I should do this? What if they do not believe me or listen to me? I am slow of speech of tongues. Oh Lord, please get some people else to do it. God gave Moses to Israel. In spite of his inadequacy and resistance, God protected his life at birth, rescued him from the Nile and attacked him to the burning bush, and called him to lead his people. God provided every congregation with a Moses to whom he gives them same call he gave to Moses. Number one, journey with my people. Bring them from where they are to where I want them. Teach them my decree and law and the duties they are to perform. Select, appoint, and train capable people who fear God. Have them to bring difficult cases to you. They'll share the ministry with you. 6 will be for me the kingdom of priest. Moses made the one great mistake Claudia has been mistaken making throughout the years. He tried to keep ministry to himself. I say tried. Actually, he did keep the ministry to himself, but it didn't work because the nature of ministry is to be shared. Leaders speak out. I have heard there is a safety in numbers. Therefore, I invite you to listen with me to what some of the finest leaders in the field of pastoral and pastoral care are saying. John Patton, professor of pastoral theology, Columbia Theological Seminary, Georgia Adjunct professor of pastoral care, Kendall School of Theology, Emory University, Atlanta. I view clergy as a generalist in ministry, representative of whole ministry of the community of faith, whereas the laity are more often than not specialists in particular type of ministry, such as the ministry of pastoral care. Paul Stevens, academic dean of Regent College, Vancouver. It is helpful to think of pastor and the lay as called pastors of a church, is called equippers. Equipping the lay is to not mobilize the lay to help the pastor, but helping people to discover and develop their own ministries. William Asson, Director of 21st Century Strategies. Pastors that have a need to be needed in order to find validation for their ministry will have a hard time to giving a control of the actual ministry to the congregation. Pastors who need to keep led dependent on them will avoid those forms of ministry. Pastors who are interested only in maintaining the status quo will do well with lay pastoral care ministry. John L. Mattison, senior pastor of Fraser Memorial Church, Montgomery, Alabama. Actually, the Fraser Memorial Church had held 3 or 4 international conferences. I went up there twice, 3 times. He says, part of our problems in stagnant church today is that many people have a mindset that ministry is to be done by the clergy and professional staff. The implication is that professional people are hired to the ministry and lay people within the church are the recipient of the ministry. This misconception must be corrected. The biblical message is that every member of the church should be involved in ministry. Peter Wagner, professor of church growth, Fuller Theological Seminary, said, if clergy can believe that their primary role is that of equipping, and if the lay people will give their consent, open the way for their pastor to be such a person, churches can grow both in quality and quantity. Lauren Merck, founder of Alvan Institute, says the church of the future must break the power of clericalism The church's power system, clergy by themselves cannot be relinquished power. There will be no change until the lay take the lead. The church is too important to be left in hand of the clergy. Oscar Fugate, a Lutheran pastor, churchman theologian, says, consider the change necessary if the church is to become the work it intended to be. A ministry of all who have Christ in their heart. Whoever has the gospel has also a ministry. Three essentials for pastors: vision, action, and support. The kind of pastor it takes will have the vision, take action, and give support required for the and effectively ministry to happen. Having said this, I could close the chapter, but we need to spend some time with each of these three essentials. Number one, vision. Church leadership must provide vision, and while recognizing inevitable tension between vision and reality, never allow the vision to shrink to the level of reality. This philosophy guide Caldwell, the senior pastor of Windsor Village United Methodist Church in Houston, Texas. We should all emerge in this kind of respect of vision. My experience of being temporary allows to provide a good insight of the vision while taking a walk in Northern Minnesota. I took what I thought would be short road to the back to shoulder a result of where I was staying. I had walked beyond the side of the road other familiar markers, and there was no path to follow. I became disoriented. The sun, which could have given me direction, was at least filled by cloud. Turning to the right and then the left to avoid troublesome underground only took me follow a course. I had no idea where I was or in what direction I was going. Fear belted me. I shouted, I think I'm rushed. Even though I could see where I was, a helicopter flying overhead could have easily seen who I was. Legend of the legend where I was about 800 feet in the woods, and where I should be going by turning right and continuing north. I could have walked out the pride or to have the vision of it to see who I am, where I'm going. Number one was the vision. Second one, action. When I was young in ministry, still we went behind the ears, reading about translating vision into reality usually generate a quality feeling. Not because I didn't believe it, because I did believe it, and therefore would not have to do it. The vehicle was caused by anxiety and fear. Fear because I did not train how to read. Anxiety because I would have changed my whole ministry orientation from church center to the lay center. I was trained in the clergy center model to preach the word to the ministry. That was it. And said to say, according to the student that have been made, that continues to be a for clergy being trained today. I didn't know until years later I had been missing by failing translating my preaching about the lay ministry into action. Worse than that, I didn't know I was cheating my people by not giving the ministry to them. And even for worse, I was delinquent in my divine call. Just do it. How many times you have heard us in this Nike ad? God is saying the same. I, for one, need to hear regularly because one of my negative habits is procrastination. Putting things off the more convenient. The Spirit of God must have targeted me as like someone answer. He would be in the action now. Action now. Because throughout the long period of time, I steady diet to do in my morning times with God. The message from the Cascade from every spirit I read. See what a few of them do for you. Whatever he does, prosper. Somebody 3. If you have ever received a letter from me, the last line read, may God prosper you do. Such is in fact the forward have made all my life. Do not merely listen to the word and so deceive yourself to do what it says. John 1:22. Now that you know these things, you will be blessed if you do them. John 13:17. He says, action. Next one. Third one is support. Also, the essential for the kind of pastor it takes a led pastoral ministry is support. But the ministers are like the battery operated levies we see in TV and just keep going and going and going. They need support over their spiritual lead, the vocational minister. They need him or her encourage them and to help them out of trouble when they get it over their need. To have a watchful interest and concern without trying to control and briefly state one of the main tasks of vocational ministry to help lay people succeed in their ministry. Included in support are affirmation, nurture, assistance, and advocacy. A relationship with the love and trust will enable the pastor to fulfill this part of shepherding role without the paternalistic overshadow. A few simple but powerful ways to give support building their relationships are on the job visit, well-timed phone call, and written note and or faxes. So, Melvin says, the top leader has to got a vision, second action, and third, dare to support lay people. Thank you.